This is Mikko from Omnium Gatherum, and you're watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 286 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Mikko Kivistö from Omnium Gatherum and Pain Confessor. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. Just had a nice little breakfast, and I'm here ready to do an interview. Nice. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically what I want to talk about is talk about like your musical history and sort of talk about do like a rundown of your discography, but take me back to young Mikko. So growing up in Finland, what were like the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to slap at a bass?
Mm, Actually, first it wasn't a metal band at all. That get me into the music business was my godmother's ex-husband. That their band was representing Finland in a Eurovision Song Contest 1988, I think, and I was 7 years old, and I want to be there someday and play with big audience, and here I am. But I think first metal band was Kiss. It was my brother get the Dynasty album, and that was the first metal album I ever heard, and that was pretty impressive. And after that came Metallica and such. So yeah, I think it was Kiss and then Metallica.
And then tell me about, I believe like your first band or one of your first bands was non-slip level. Like tell me about that because I'm digging deep. Like nobody ever talks about this.
Yeah, I can see you have dig really deep.
Thank Metal Archives for that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Before non-slip, there was like a non-slip level was minor in minority. That was first time, but we wanted to change the name, and I saw the linear thing you watched that your tables are straight, and I don't remember that English words for that, but there was a word non-slip level, and that's our band name.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Slipknot was a pretty new band back in days, and
Yeah.
non-slip level was it's felt good in your mouth. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like what is non-slip level? Because I was trying to like find like some music out there. Is there like any music like floating out there of non-slip level?
there is couple EPs, but not in the Spotify or YouTube, or you can find them.
Yeah.
I do have a CD.
Yeah. You gotta like throw it up there because I'm interested in checking it out.
Yeah, maybe next time we see each other, I can bring you one copy.
Definitely I'll hit you up. But then I believe like next up is I want is pretty much like your band Pain Confessor, sir. Because tell me about like starting up Pain Confessor because you formed in 2002. So how did you get to know like everybody?
uh, we had a one gig with non-slip level, and Tuomas, our guitar player, was filling in our guitar player in non-slip level, and after that gig, we decided to make a new thrashy death band, and yeah,
Yeah,
we went to rehearsing place, and then we tried to find a new guitar, the other guitar player, and I remember that I have seen the Vesa Säkkinen. He has a he was like an old school guy in Finland. He still had that band, Ancient Rotten Graveyard, ARG. They're like a pretty popular thrash metal band, like a really old school. And he was a little bit older than us, and then he came along, and he already had a couple songs, and that is the story.
all right. And then you started playing around like Finland and stuff, and I believe you got signed to your first label, which was Megamania. So how did they find Pain
Yes.
Confessor?
Yeah, that was a legendary guy who has found the most of the biggest Finnish bands, like You don't know them there, but I think he was the guy. If you're not the band called Stone, Finnish thrash metal band.
And all right, and then going into the first Pain Confessor album, Turmoil. So what was sort of like the thought process making like the debut full length Pain Confessor album?
Sorry.
It's sort of like what was like the whole like writing and recording process like for the first Pain Confessor album, Turmoil?
We just went to the rehearsing place and start making songs. They just came. I don't know where they came, but it was like a group of guys making songs together, and it was a pretty. It's just those songs just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
That was a
definitely. It
fun
sounds
time.
like it definitely has like that kind of like melodic death metal style,
Yeah,
but also has, I guess, hints of also like the core bands like Killswitch Engage and Shadows Fall. So I guessing like everybody sort of like brings like their own kind of like influence and style into Pain Confessor.
yeah, yeah. I think that time we those kind of what you said, like if it's engaged, but we didn't like we didn't copy any bands. We tried to creating our own style, but yeah, it still was like a. We even won the newcomer. It was some competition. There was Winter Sun also was there,
Yeah, was it
and we
the
won.
Circle Rock Metal Weekend?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, then also this year does also mark 20 years since of Turmoil. So how do you feel about the album now, 20 years later?
I still love it. That was the first metal album I was involved in.
Nice.
It's
It's
like it
yeah,
always has a special place in my heart.
yeah, yeah. And so, what was sort of like the touring cycle like for Turmoil? Did you start playing like around like Finland or even outside that, or was it still just strictly in Finland?
It was strictly in Finland. We didn't. There was some talks that we might go to Europe, but it never happened during that time.
Yeah.
But
And
we did a lot of gigs in Finland.
Nice. And then moving on to the next album, Fear Age. I thought that was a great follow-up to Turmoil because usually with the debut album you have like your entire life to write and there's a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making Fear Rage, did you felt any like pressure to follow up Turmoil?
No, it was the same thing that in Turmoil that we just made the songs that felt good, and yeah, it's. I think that album is much softer than Turmoil, but
Yeah. Yeah, it has like great songs like Feardom, Another Door, Butterfly. Even like the last song, DNA of a God, it's just pretty sick.
yeah.
Yeah. And then moving on to the next album, Purgatory of the Second Son. I like that album. It's pretty much a quick turnaround from Fear Age, which was released like the next year. Did you start writing for that right after Fear Age came out?
Actually, we did, and that was like a record label was pushing us to make a second album, and that was for us. It was like first ever we made because we made that album so fast, and I think we didn't complete the songs rightly. I think,
Yeah.
but and
Yeah.
the studio session was a disaster.
Oh, wow. And then I know in like 2008 and 2009 you did some demos. Like tell me about like those songs.
Yeah, we split ways with our second keyboard players, Vesa, and then I step for a while. I step to the other guitar player parts and starting to make songs much more. And those were when we fishing the new record deal.
Yeah. Yeah, which of course you got signed to Spine Farm Records. So
Yeah.
how did they find Pain Confessor?
In that time there was they made a lot of deals with the Finnish bands. There was the guy that we know, and they really loved those 2 songs that we made. And then we almost I think it took like 1 year to make that deal. Yeah, I think it was we every now and then they send us a copy of the deal and ask us to check is everything okay, and then we made our own offer that could be changed this part and blah blah blah. But yeah, it finally made it happen, and then we already have a new guitar players and new drummer. And
Yeah. And with like having those new members, did that sort of like at all sort of like change like the chemistry or dynamic within Pain Confessor?
yeah, as the drummer, of course, because he was so tight drummer and
And
rehearsing every day, and that was like a first time we had like a really good drummer in our band who can do the blast beats and everything, and it gave us a whole new scale to how to make music. And yeah.
And then of course like the latest album Incarcerated came out in 2012. So tell me about like making that album and how did Incarcerated came to be?
Mm, again, it was a really tough session to record that album because there was like a really much inside issues in the band when we recorded that, and because there was you know some other guy who has learned to do things differently than us, and it was but yeah, we finally made it and turned out that that was like a really good album, and we really loved that. And of course Pine Farm said to us that they will put us as soon as possible in Europe also touring, and we waited that a lot, but it never happened.
Wow.
There was a chance that I think it was after Purgatory we had a this little chance that we could opening the such a bands like Destruction and Candlemass, and but then yeah, I don't know if I could say that, but there was a couple guys that said that we won't pay the money. They have to pay us if they want us to be there, and they have like a really different eye on that, how the business works. That if you want to go Europe or United States, so you have to pay money to be there.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
Yeah, totally. And yeah, and I still like think like the latest album is great. Like I still think like the opening song Oceans of Sickness is definitely one of my favorite Pain Confessor songs.
right by me.
Yeah. And then of course I guess the last like Pain Confessor release I know you did in 2013 you did the digital singles of Jade and Hope. Like tell me about those. Were those sort of sort of like I guess B-sides that were recorded around the time of Incarcerated?
Yeah, those songs supposed to be like a extra songs for Japan release, and but it really never happened. So we decided to release those songs by
Yeah.
their own.
Yeah. And being as it has been now like 12 years since Incarcerated, like what is like the status with Pain Confessor? Are you gonna do like new music or is it just nah?
And last year we did a was no, it's what 2022. I think it was our 20th anniversary gig, and it was pretty fun. And after that, we started to think that maybe this year we're going to do the whole Turma album, at least one gig, but we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Let's see. And we have talked with our guitar player Tuomas that why not make a 1 or 2 singles and just release for fun. See if there is something releasable.
Totally.
Never say no.
Yeah, never say never, my friend.
Never say never.
All right. And then kind of flashing forward, because then in 2020 you ended up joining up with Omnium Gatherum. So how'd you get to know like Yuka and Marcus and everybody?
Actually, I've known Marcus since 2001.
Oh,
I
wow.
think we have seen each other like every now and then, and we have played in the same festivals and we have had gigs together in clubs and small venues, but yeah. And it was 2018 when I filling in in Wolfhard, OG's headlining tour in Europe, and I did the first 3 gigs in Wolfhard, and then me and Marcus drink a beer, and he asked me how about Confessor, how you guys doing, and I said everybody has left in the band except me, and I still want to play music, and I think I kind of convinced him, because in January 2019 I messaging him, and I wanted to sell my wireless microphone to Jukka, and we talked about that in that European tour, and I asked Marcus, where is your rehearsing place, and he said that Jukka lives kind of near me and you should call him, and by the way, we're going to need new bass player soon, and we have talked about your name has mentioned a couple times this, and I said, oh, why not, and I'm really interested. And then I made a couple videos where I play OG songs, and even went to they were in my hometown gig and play one song with them in soundcheck, and I don't know, it just happened. 2019 in May I did a couple Russian gigs with them and played the whole year with them.
And then tell me about making like your first record with the band Origin, which came out in 2021. So what was sort of like the writing and recording process like, being that was like your first record with the band?
Yeah. It was pretty easy, because usually Marcus do almost every songs, and I did only one riff which he liked, and I think that's the best way to do the music, because the whole thing is kind of it's Jukka and Marcus is the heart of the band. So I like the way they do the music, and Jukka do the lyrics and Marcus do the music, and if you put too much yourself in there, it could change too much. So
Yeah. And then when you were joining up with Omnium Gatherum, were you like listening to like even like previous albums like Gray Heavens, Beyond, Burning Cold, and etc., and try to be like, this is what I need to do? Or did you have like free reign to like sort of like bring like your own style into Omnium Gatherum?
I really play the songs like they are, but they haven't had the bass player that use picks. See, I think since the Redshift, no, Snake Ways, and yeah, the bass player has been playing by finger, and now I've used the picks, and
To sort of like
it
help,
has really
could also help like rip the bass lines better.
yeah, and it sounds differently. It's a
Yeah.
much tighter bass.
Yeah,
If you
because
use pick.
if you try with like fingers, it would sound a little, I guess, sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but of course I honor the old bass player and try to do my best that I could play those in live, same way that they used to do it.
And of course, when during the time of like Origin, I know like the whole pandemic happened, and I know the pandemic really kind of like fucked up like the whole music industry and stuff. So did that at all sort of like influence like the sound of Origin like sonically in a way?
I don't think so. Those songs was mostly already done before the pandemic and there was yeah, at least when COVID came and Marcus had a lot of time and he even arranged a couple more bands
Yeah.
during that time. And he had a lot of time in home and he made a lot of songs in a year 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought like Origin is still a great album. It has a bit of like an 80s vibe with some wave elements. Was
Yeah,
Vince was I guessing like everybody at the band was like really into like the whole like 80s kind of like rock and metal and stuff.
hell yeah, I think so. At
Yeah.
least I am, and I know that most of the guys are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think its Origin, in my opinion, is probably like the most catchiest and probably the very poppiest album to date. Like the melodies are there really smooth and have very ear catchy, and it also has like the other end, which is very proggy on the other side. Right? How would you like describe the album and pretty much would like classify it in sort of like the discography of Omnium Gatherum?
What can I say? It is attitude-oriented death metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely like, think it's great because I remembered like when I saw you on that you did that headlining tour with I think it was Black Crown Initiate and Elysia, and I thought that was great. I think I was believe it or correct me if I'm wrong. It was like your first ever U.S. tour for a first time in the States.
Yes.
So what was it like playing in America for the first time? Because I had Ate on a while back and I was asking him about like playing in the US for the first time. And so I was curious, like for in your experience, what was it like being in a new country?
Uh, it was different compared to Europe, and of course it was really awesome, but still it felt like a work, and you try to enjoy the because we had a lot of time after our soundcheck. We tried to go to see the different places and walk a bit and see around the cities and get to know the people, and it was kind of that was a pretty shock that the roads are really bad in US.
Yeah, sometimes like because I'm from Georgia, I live like north of Atlanta. Sometimes like their traffic can be a bitch. Sometimes I'm like, man, y'all need to get your shit together.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
one thing that hit your face really badly was that there was like a lot of homeless people, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
So
was that was a that is way different in Europe, and of course here in Europe is has also homeless people, but I think it because the social security in US is really different than in especially like Finland. But yeah, it kind of make me a little bit sad, but you know that was the. But yeah, you can used to it because it is what it is.
yeah, yeah, and so like on that tour, what was like your first favorite like city to play in or in the States and to like explore in?
Mm, I think it was Seattle
Yeah, of course, the capital of
because
grunge.
yeah, and you know I love such a band like Alice in Chains and
Yeah, they're the best. I love Alice in Chains.
yeah, and that was that was a city that I always wanted to visit, and that was my opportunity to see it in bit, and
Yeah,
yeah, I think it was Seattle.
yeah, Definitely. That's one place I really like to visit, sort of like the West Coast, like see like Seattle, like Portland, Oregon, and even most of California. Because I've only been to like San Francisco. Because if you ever go to San Francisco, I would recommend checking out like the Redwood Forest. I went there when I was like 13 with my mom and dad, and it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I think it 2023. Yeah, last year we went to Twin Peaks in Seattle and went to see the views of Twin Peaks, Syria,
Nice.
and Tweed's Cafe, and that's the thing. That was like a really emotional experience.
Totally. And then of course, like the latest Omnium Gatherum release was the Slasher EP you put out last year, and it's absolutely kick ass. Even like it's some songs from like their outtakes from the Origin recording session. So how'd the whole idea to come to be to release those songs as an EP?
Uh, because we had released the news that Nick Cordell is going to be our second guitar player, and we want to release something that Nick was involved. So we made a slasher with him, and that was pretty much the reason to release those songs as an EP, Love, Lore, and Sacred, that we already have recorded in 2021. But yeah, and then we decided to make a cover song for Maniac and introducing Nick. That was the reason we
Yeah.
released
And
that EP.
and how did he end up joining the band, and what's it like working with him?
Uh, that was because Marcus has known him since I think 2015. When he first time filling in Insomnium, and they have met in a road when Nick still played in Arch Enemy, and they ended up I think it was they was playing in the same place, I think, and then they became a friends, and Marcus asked him to filling in Insomnium, and during the years, and 2000 2020 when we did the 70K cruise, and Nick was filling in for us, and we decided to. He already supposed to play the 2020 tour in US, but
Yeah, which
sadly
got
it was
canceled
only
after
one.
one show.
Yeah, yeah, it was Philadelphia tour.
Oh wow. That had to be some like
Uh,
wild crazy shit that
yeah,
happened.
yeah, and of course 2022 when we had the headlining US tour, we decided that we're going to take a Nick as a guitar player in that tour, and during the tour we decided that why not? He's a great guy and a great guitar player, and he could fit perfectly in OG, and we asked him if he wanted to join, and that's it.
Yeah, and I
It's
think because I was asking Marcus about this last week. So how did that sort of like affect like the whole dynamic within Omnium Gathering, being as like the band's mostly in Finland, and of course Nick, of course, is from America. So how does that sort of like change like the dynamic within the band?
I don't know. The both are, as a bass player, you are in the middle of the two great guitar players, and
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
because that's a good way to describe it. Because I describe like the bass as sort of like the special stuff in like a sandwich, and like the guitars are like the bread.
Yeah,
Yeah, and talking about like
but
you're saying.
but I think this lineup is the most live effective lineup that the OG have ever had. The sync moshing, and they all has came naturally what we do in our live shows, and I think it's pretty awesome that everything has come naturally, and because of me now we have in our first gig in Moscow, I said to our floor engineer that you have to bring microphone to Marcus, and we all have to sing those clean parts.
Yeah.
And now we have 5 vocals during our live show, so
Nice. And then talking about like your bass playing, because I know you've heard all the bass player jokes and memes and stuff. So I don't think you've gravitate towards flashy bass playing, but instead I feel like you find ways to link what Nick and Marcus are doing with the melody and what Ate is doing with the rhythm, but in a way it's creative sense. So for you, whether it be with Omnium Gatherum or even with Pain Confessor, what is like your approach to like playing bass?
Mm, mm, I don't know. Before bass, I actually went to music store to buy guitar, and in this there was like a, I don't remember the model, but it was black guitar, and there was a picture of panther, and it looked cool, and I wanted to buy that guitar, but I was inside the music store, and then I remember that my brother has a band, but they don't have bass player, so I picked the bass and started to be a bass player. And for me, it's like I don't know. I don't have a really like a own idols or bassist as a bassist, but I just love being playing bass.
Nice.
Love playing bass.
Eh, nice. And then I'm also curious about like your rig setup, like in terms of like what you use to play live or also in the studio, like in terms of like the basses you play, like strings, pedals, and amps and all that stuff.
Yeah, I had a custom made bass called Raato. Tuomas Saukko, also same builder that I am, and you can design your own model by yourself, and if you like, and got the specs you wanted in it. And so that's my bass, main bass, and I have the second bass is Jackson David Ellefson signature Kelly Bird, and amp I have a Darkglass Alpha Omega amp. I picked that one because it was lightweight and easy to take tour with you, and basically you don't need any cabs. You can just plug in and play with line, and yeah, I
Yeah.
only use one channel,
Yeah. Just keep it
distortion channel,
simple.
and keep it simple. Yes.
Right. And in terms of playing live, because of course I've seen Omnium Gatherum 4 times, and of course I've seen you play at the Masquerade a bunch, and of course last time I saw you, you played at the 70,000 Tons of Metal earlier this year, which is more of a festival. So, do you prefer like playing like the bigger kind of like festivals, especially like in Europe and stuff, or do you prefer to like play like an actual tour in front of like like a venue?
Mm, both both has a like a their own moments, because of course in big festivals it's really great to see a lot of people in the audience, and at the same time it doesn't matter if there's like a 50 people in a small club, or you always do the same live show. It doesn't matter how many people are in it, but of course it's some like in Seattle El Corazon is really, if you sold that out, it's like a really packed venue, and really small and really sweaty. That is kind of a, it also gives you something, you go some kind of trance, or but you give everything you got during the live show. And same thing could happen in like big festivals, open air stage, and a lot of people, like happened in Summer Breeze a couple of years ago.
And I know you also play with like a variety of different bands because I know when I saw you with the band, first time I saw you with the band, you played that tour with Elysian and Breathcon Initiate, which is sort of more technical kind of the death metal. But then I saw you on the tour with Elvite. and Seven Spires, which is just more kind of like folk metal and just symphonic metal. And then you did the 70,000 Tons of Metal Cruise, which has a variety of different like subgenres of metal. So do you ever notice like a different kind of like crowd reaction depending on like any tours that you're on?
Yeah, and like that elevated tour, there was a lot of fans that never have ever have heard of us, and they was impressed at our live shows, and that always that's always like a really good thing to hear, that you impress somebody the thing that you are doing, and it's priceless, you know.
Yeah, because yeah, I feel like you have like the sound, like you can appeal to like any genre. You just don't. It's not just for like one specific genre. I feel like you can appeal to like even like the death
Yeah,
metal, even like folk metal. So I think like Omnium Gatherum can appeal to like a variety of different fans.
yeah, I agree that, and I think nowadays there's a lot of similar style bands that touring together. That's like a why you do that way, because you can fit there like a folk metal band, death metal band, whatever you want, and give everybody something, and you
Yeah,
can have new fans that kind of tours.
totally. And being as it has been a few years since Origin, I know you had the Slasher EP last year. Sure, I know you've been working on the next Omnium Gatherum album. So, what's the status with that, if you're allowed to say?
Mm, there is bunch of songs already demoed, but we need few more. So hopefully
Yeah.
there's
Now,
gonna be new album next year.
yeah. And musically, are you going to try to continue in the same vein as Origin, or are you going to try to do something new or different that Omnium Gatherum hasn't done before?
Mm, it's totally gonna be Omnium Gatherum music again.
Cool. And so, kind of like in the end, to sort of wrap things up, because I know, like you just mentioned, you're sort of demoing out ideas for the next album. Like, what's next for Omnium Gatherum in terms of like tours and stuff?
Sorry.
Like what's next for Omnium Gatherum in terms of like tours and stuff?
Uh, this uh this end of the year, I think it's September or October. We had a few gigs in Japan, and maybe also in China, and then in January there's a tour with Insomnium, Beyond the Shadow of the Dying Sun. We play whole Beyond album, and Insomnium plays Shadow of the Dying Sun.
Man,
There's,
that is great. I wish that was in the States, even though you already
yeah,
did a tour together there,
yeah,
which I'm pissed I missed.
yeah. But you know, there's always chance to come to Europe, some city to see that. But yeah, flights are pretty expensive to Europe from States and
And vice
from the
versa.
States. Yeah, but yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Mikko, for this conversation. It's great that I now have like one half of Omnium Gathering on my show. Is just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Mm, keep watching this show.
Thank you. So everybody, Mikko from Omnium Gathering. See you next time.